Hey everyone, today I will discuss the topic about the essentials of leadership and government. Question: why is a good leader so hard to find? Over many years, the authors have asked a variety of people informally to identify 5 exceptional leaders. They have come across individuals who truly exemplify effective and admirable leadership. Most people cannot complete the task. Some struggle to identify a single individual they know whom they respect as a truly excellent leader. Almost without exemption, those individuals considered as possibly good leaders are identified as having one significant deficit or another. At the same time, the people we questions did not struggle to come up with an examples of truly bad leaders. There are other approaches to the leadership issue. One, with one guru after another, usually referring to some magic number of traits that a person needs to be a good leader. Those lists, however, are usually made with reference to leaders in the private sector. Our framework in this book is directed to people who work in the public sector, who would argue that leadership for these individuals is often more complicated and through requires a comprehensive discussion, which we consider to fall under basics. We would also argue that there is a very practical reason to think in terms of the detailed structure we provide here. Sometimes, you can only know whether someone has a particular characteristic by the presence of an associated collection of other related characteristics before getting into the basics though it is important to ensure we agree about what constitutes good leadership. Accordingly, we will first discuss what we mean by leadership and the purpose of leadership, what is so special about leaders and government, and why the basics are important. Furthermore, we will discuss why we keep coming back to our central idea of the inner core of a good leader. What is leadership? When you look at the various definitions and ideas about leadership, it is not hard to conclude that the concept of leadership are all over the map. For example, some adherents uphold concept of servant leadership. Others talk about visionary leaders. Other terms such as transformational leadership also show up in the literature, and there are lots more. There are also definitions that draw a distinction between leadership and management, with some displaying a sense that being a leader is someone superior to being a manager. In reality, most leaders engage in some form of management, and all managers should demonstrate leadership. Even employees who are not in management display leadership among their colleagues and teams. The purpose of leadership. Obviously, leadership needs to be more than simply working with others to get a job done. If that were the only purpose, we could have to say that many people who have senior roles in the mafia, drug cartels, and terrorist organizations are good leaders. Certainly, many of them have good track records of getting the job done. But in getting the job done, they disrespect people, they deceive people, they hurt people, they break the law, they generally work in a dictatorial manner. Likewise, history has shown us time and time again that someone can rise to become the leader of a country, be successful at staying the leader for some time, and be referred to as a leader, but that does not mean they have any significant admirable leadership characteristics. They can lead by positioning themselves as powerful bullies. In short, they can be successful in getting a job done without having a genuine leadership skills. As we note, the purpose of leadership involves more than getting a job done. It involves getting it done in a certain way, a way that shows a genuine respect and concern for the well-being of everyone who has at stake in completing the job or task at hand. To do that, one need consistently to behave in a certain way. Further, Prospective leaders need to have a certain set of aspirations and skills behind those behaviors, and they need to hold strong information, communication, and sustainability commitments. Good leaders. With the above in mind, being a nominal leader, even so-called successful one, is not necessarily anything to be proud of. Being a good leader, however, is a much different thing. A good leader is someone who embraces and consistently demonstrates a broad range of leadership attributes as foundation for the way in which they work to get a job done. They understand that it is not just about meeting a mandate or achieving stated goal, but that is equally about the process of working with people and their interests to get there. Importantly, they understand that the process of working with people requires credibility, consistency, and sustainable buy-in. Most importantly, a good leader understands the characteristics and attributes needed to be a good leader. Works for develop those attributes into themselves and those who report them, and appreciate how consistency helps to define the working culture of an organization. What then are the attributes of a good leader? In this book, we have tapped into extensive research from a wide variety of sources in business, academia, government, and the larger public sector. Many of these sources have a particular focus on a favored set of attributes that they claim makes a good leader. However, we want to look specifically at what is needed for those working in various levels of government. Therefore, we have adapted what is coming from elsewhere to be relevant to this unique context. Leaders in government. When we refer to leaders in government, we are not talking only about elected officials. Even though much of what we are discussing is relevant to them in leaders outside government, we are directing this book to government workers and civil servants. This book is for government employees at any level who have a lead role in the delivery of government programs, products, and services. This includes everyone from change hands, foremen and unit supervisors to managers, directors, and seniors executives, typically anyone who supervises the work of leaders of others and is otherwise responsible for the service of program delivery mandate in a government. Leaders in government are different from leaders in a private sector in several ways. To begin with, unlike leaders in the private sector, the work of leaders in government is commonly not measured by bottom line. While governments are accountable for how they spend their tax revenue, they do not have competitors, profit margins to be concerned about, or shareholders to answer to with respect to operating efficiently and effectively. Instead, we trust that our leaders in government accomplish their work as efficiently and effectively as possible. Government leaders are also different from leaders in the private sector due to their obligation to work in the public interest. They are expected to operate in a way that respects and honors what is in the best interest of the public. They need to work with a sense of social responsibility, nonpartisanship, and a heightened sense of good citizenship. They cannot be driven and motivated by self-interest. They develop a simple acronym that will guide us through the discussion of what it takes to be a good leader in government. This will shape the chapters that follow. The basic of good leadership in government: B for behaviors, A for aspirations, S for skills, I for information commitment, C for communications commitment, and C for sustainability commitment. We have developed a list of attributes that we consider to be the basic of good leadership, and each of those is linked to letter of our acronym. Each chapter will explore this in turn. However, you will also learn that in the 6 letters: behaviors, aspirations, skills, and information, communication, and sustainability commitments are all generated from the supported by the inner core of the good leader. This inner core is part of the person characteristics that relates to ethics, integrity, and values. To help anchor this concept, the diagram below displays this with the inner core as the center of the wheel. You will notice that in each successive chapter, the center of the wheel remains constant. That is because for every area, the inner core of a good leader has a role to play. The basics model diagram throughout the book break down the six attributes of a good leadership into the respective components. As we think about this concept, it is important to note that we are not encouraging people to become perfect leaders. We realize that as people, we are all fallible and no one can get it right all the time. We all have limitations. While it may be not possible for us to attain perfection, it is quite responsible to aspire to be a good leader that is realistic and it is doable. It is within the reach of every person to learn how to be a good leader. Good leadership is only possible if it flows from a strong inner core of good character and ethical thinking. More than ever, organizations are crying out for leaders who are responsible, principled, ethical, and have the courage to do the right thing. Our world is afloat with environmental challenges, issues of social responsibility and justice, and deep needs that affects how all of us live. And now into the future, we need government leaders who not only have the skills and behaviors of good leadership, but who guide their work with a moral compass and an ethical principled core. The basic of good leadership and government is based on this premise.